The year is 1985. The Queen is still alive, and the furry fandom is just getting started. While furries have been gathering together and partying for some time now, it wasn't until in Sacramento, California at WesterCon, a science fiction and fantasy convention, that partners Mark Merlino and Rod O'Reilly got together and organized the first openly publicized funny animal party. And yes, you heard me right. Funny animal party, not a furry party. At the time, the term furry hadn't really cemented itself as a term to describe those in the fandom, and all the attendees of this original funny animal party wouldn't necessarily consider themselves to be furries, even if they were knowledgeable of the term. The reason for this is because a funny animal is different from that of a furry. While a funny animal is typically an anthropomorphic bipedal, the creators of these characters are typically not furries, and they're intended for non-furry audiences. Many of these funny animal characters far predate the furry fandom in any sense, and examples include Mickey Mouse, Sandy Cheeks, and Bugs Bunny. While this funny animal party was not a furry party, the popularity of its furry aspects did spawn the first ever furry party at the following WesterCon. However, a party is a far cry from a convention, but the first furry convention would have to wait just under 4 years to see the light of day. Before then, however, starting in 1987, Merlino and other furry party attendees attempted to move their furry parties to BayCon in the San Francisco Bay Area, another science fiction and fantasy convention. But unlike WesterCon, it didn't move across the country each year, so it would be a much more suitable place for regional furries to gather together at each year. The furries at BayCon grew to a notable presence at the convention for the next few years, but hostility from other convention goers made it clear that it wasn't a long-term solution. Later that same year, Merlino would travel to Great Britain, where he would host the first ever furry party in the United Kingdom at the World Science Fiction Convention in Brighton. Finally though, after enduring hostility at BayCon, Merlino and O'Reilly would create Conference, the first ever furry convention. It was hosted at the Holiday Inn Bristol Plaza in Costa Mesa, California, between January 21st and 22nd, 1989. It was called Conference Zero, rather than 1, however, as it was meant to be a test for potential future conference conventions. In total, 90 people signed up, but only 65 people ended up attending despite costing $10 in advance to even sign up. The convention had a smaller dealer's room or den, which is a space in which artists, vendors, and publishers come to sell an assortment of goods to attendees. Also at the convention were 2 programming rooms, in which scheduled staff-sponsored events take place, such as panels, contests, and skits. In the case of this convention, the events in question were things like a furry starter kit and a screening of Animal Olympics, a 1980 special created for Olympic Games, in which animal characters participate in the event. The event also had its own souvenir book, which had cover and interior art created by several different artists. There was also an art auction. Over $1,100 was spent, including $450 on a painting by Susan Van Camp, an artist who would go on to work on Magic the Gathering. Also present at the convention was the first ever fursuiter to attend a furry convention, Robert Hill, who dressed as his bamboid OC, Hilda. Overall, the convention, despite its comparatively low attendance to modern standards, was a rousing success. Conference would go on to peak at 1,200 people in 1998, before the event would suffer a steep decline and eventually be shuttered in 2003 due to increased competition from newer conventions and questions about how well the crazier side of the fandom was being managed.